Several months ago, shortly after the incident, the shooting death of Mark Anthony Barmore on August 24th, 2009, I stated that numerous questions had been raised about the incident, which were fair and important questions for the community to ask. Our approach to address fairly and accurately those questions has involved numerous steps. The first step was the completion of the state's attorney's criminal review and the determination of the grand jury that the shooting of Mr. Barmore was justified. That was the criminal component of the matter. The next step was commencement of the city's administrative review of the incident. Today, we have a chance to provide answers to a number of those remaining questions as we release the independent assessment report of consultants Kelly Evans and Christy Lopez regarding the death of Mr. Barmore. This report has also been utilized as part of the city's administrative review. As we'll later explain, however, there are undoubtedly going to be some questions that still can't be answered today, and we'll have to await further work, which we'll explain. The city retained attorneys Evans and Lopez to achieve two equally important goals. The first goal was an independent, highly qualified perspective on the conduct of our department related to Mr. Barmore's death. Second, we wanted recommendations that would help guide our department as we continued on a path we'd already begun to improve our professional standards and our community relations. Let me give a little background now on those improvements. The City of Rockford has for several years been on a path to improve those standards and community relations. Later on during the press conference, I'll turn the discussion over to Chief Epperson, and he'll go through a summary of those activities and how the Evans and Lopez report will help us continue on that improvement path. In terms of the summary findings within the report, and I'm going to quote from page 15 of the report, and I quote, "A preponderance of the currently available evidence indicates that at the moment deadly force was used by officers North and Poole, the use of that force was consistent with RPD policy. However," and I quote further from that paragraph, "as detailed below, the actions of officers North and Poole leading up to the shooting violated RPD policy and were not consistent with RPD training or sound tactics." And I end the quote. As we look at the report, therefore, we can take a couple of things away from it. Number one is that it affirms the decision of the state's attorney and the grand jury that the shooting of Mr. Barmore was justified, and that Rockford Police Department policies were followed related to the actual shooting. But the report also tells us that the policies were not followed regarding actions taken prior to the shooting, and that we have more work to do to improve our department. Now let me say this too, based on the report which we've had for some time, and within the report, part of the guidance was that it be kept confidential until such time as various aspects of the internal investigation could be completed. Those aspects of the investigation have now been completed, and that's why we're moving forward today. The results, the final conclusions of those internal investigations are not done, however. But you have the commitment of the city, and pursuant to Illinois law, that once we have a final determination related to those internal investigations, the results will be published. City Legal Director Patrick Hayes is here later on during our question and answer session. If there are specific questions related to the internal investigations, we'll be turning those questions over to him. And just before I turn the press conference over to Chief Epperson, I'd like to just say a few things about us turning over this report, which by some may deem to be controversial. In our estimation, however, the best way to assure that we will execute on the various methodologies that have been discussed in the report to improve our department over time, the types of things that even had Mr. Barmore not been shot and killed on that August 24th date, the types of things that we should be working on to improve the department. The best way to assure that we complete those goals, to achieve those improvements, is to make sure that the community is part of our effort as we work and we move forward. And again, let me thank the members of the Department of Justice mediation team, members from stakeholders from our community. That includes our PBPA police union. I want to thank all of them for their work within that effort. It's been extremely tough. There's been a lot of debate, vigorous debate, but good faith efforts all around to come to agreement on methods that will improve our community. When we were meeting with the Department of Justice through that mediation process, we weren't discussing the Barmore case. It's really important to emphasize that. We were discussing general ways to improve. And although the final work of that mediation group is not completed, what I can tell you today is that I have every confidence that we will achieve agreement with all the parties that will result in an ongoing systematic connection between our community representatives, and our police department in meaningful ways that will help us review our use of force on an ongoing basis to make sure we're doing the best job we can to keep this community safe and to keep our officers safe. With that, I'd like to turn the conference over to Chief Epperson, who will describe more about our methods that we've been on, that path, and how we're going to use this report to help us keep moving forward. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. The Rockford Police Department has been committed, is still committed, and will remain committed to ongoing improvement for days ahead and in the past. In 2008, the department took on a department-wide training to institutionalize supervisory oversight of force incidents. We worked with Chief Chuck Gruber, who does work with the Department of Justice and was a past former Oakland, California monitor. We institutionalized a robust system within the police department on going to scenes of use of force with our supervisors. At the same time, we were developing a robust administrative review process. This was prior to the Mark Anthony Barmore shooting. Because of that, we stopped and sought the assistance of Independent Assessment and Monitoring, IAM, to provide a comprehensive assessment, to look at our policies, procedures, and practices of the date of the shooting, and to look at the date of shooting and to make any sort of improvements. And out of that, there have been 27 recommendations that have been provided by Independent Assessment and Monitoring. The events of August 24th are tragic. The events of August 24th put the officers of this department and the community at great danger. Because of the actions of that day, there's been an internal investigation that is still ongoing, and we're looking at the policies and the procedures of the Rockford Police Department. This is a very good police department. Our uses of force are minimal that we do on a daily basis. So we need to continue to support the Rockford Police Department and also to take some time at the 27 recommendations that have been provided by Independent Assessment and Monitoring. Embrace the 27 changes as an organization with our officers and the community as a whole. We've done some great things in the Rockford Police Department. First, we're an accredited police agency. We currently have policies and procedures that are in place, and I'm grateful for the efforts of the police department to get that great work done. Secondly, we have a high-risk we have an early warning system that concentrates on risk factors within the police department. We can notify and look at incidents before they become too large. And second of all, our supervisory oversight of use of force investigations has resulted in a 74% decrease in excessive force complaints in the last 4 years. Those are remarkable things in the Rockford Police Department. So I'm very grateful that we've done that. We've just recently created the Office of Professional Standards to a Deputy Chief position, and that role will take on 3 areas going forward. We'll be looking at the administrative review and implementing that per the 27 recommendations. We'll be looking at the Department of Justice recommendations on the complaint process that will be able to enhance our better engagement with the citizens of Rockford. And also the Office of Professional Standards will take all training and development within the department and ensure that there's alignment between training and internal investigations going forward.